Okay, here we go with lesson 2.6, divide by two-digit divisors. How can you divide by two-digit divisors? Now, we have done this with our partial quotients, but now we're going to learn to do it how I learned to do it, the long division way. 560 divided by 18. So the first thing they want us to do is estimate. Let's read what our problem is, I guess. Mr. Yates owns a smoothie shop. To mix a batch of his favorite orange punch smoothies, he uses 18 ounces of freshly squeezed orange juice. Each day, he squeezes 560 ounces of fresh orange juice. How many batches of orange punch smoothies can Mr. Yates make? So he squeezes 560 ounces, and he needs 8 ounces to make a smoothie. So step 1, it says use the estimate to place the first digit in the quotient. So I would estimate 18 to 20, and I would estimate this to, well, we could do it at 560, and then the first digit in the quotient will be in what place? So since I have 600 divided by 20, I know that I am going to have to do that times 3. So my first digit of the quotient will be in the tens place. Step 2, divide the tens. Divide 56 tens divided by 18. And we found out 3, so that's where I would start. And then if that's too big or small, you can adjust from there. So 3 times 18 tens is, 18 times 3 tens is 54. So we're going to subtract, I'm going to write that in there, is 54. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put my 54 under my 56. It is important, boys and girls, that you line that up, that your hundreds are in your hundreds and your tens are in your tens. So it's over there where it belongs. And that you put this above the tens place. And when you subtract, you get 2. Check. Can 2 tens be divided among 18 groups without regrouping? No, we most certainly cannot take 2 and divide it equally among 18 groups. So now we're going to move on to step 3. We have subtracted and got our 2 here. We bring down our 0. Now, how many 18s in 20? There is 1 18 in 20. So we put our 1 up here above the 0. That's the number we brought down. And then we put our 18. And we subtract and we get 2. So we have a remainder of 2. So we're going to divide 20 ones by 18. Then we're going to take 20 ones minus 18 ones, which leaves us 2 ones. Check. 2 ones cannot be shared among 18 groups, and we don't have any other numbers to bring down. Now it looks like you might have quite a bit of writing to do, so if you do, pause this and be sure you understand with your partner what's going on. Okay, now we're going to go to page 84, and this is the example. Every Wednesday, Mr. Yates orders fruit. He has set aside $1,250 to purchase Valencia oranges. Each box of Valencia oranges costs $41. How many boxes of Valencia oranges can Mr. Yates purchase? And the first thing we're going to do is estimate. And we're going to divide this by 40. We're going to round 41 to 40, and we're going to make this 1,200 or 1,200. So we should get somewhere around 30. Okay? So now they kind of gave you the answer, and you just have to do the work. So they're saying that 41 will go into 125 3 times. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12, and that is definitely less than 125. So I need to subtract. I get a 2. 2 minus 2 is nothing. 1 minus 1 is nothing, so I'm going to bring down my 0. Now, can 20 be divided equally among 41 groups? No, it cannot. So we have to put a 0 here, which means we have to put a 0 up here, and then that gives us our remainder. Let's go over here and check our work. 30 times 41, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 3 is 3. Put your extra 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 3 is 12. And if I add that, I get 1,230. Don't forget that you had a remainder, and our remainder was 20. If I add that, I get 1,250. So Mr. Yates can buy how many boxes of oranges? 30. Okay, let's look at this. Now you can estimate if you want, and but you can look at this one pretty easy and say that I'm going to write this out larger so I have room to write. 63 will go into 75 one time. 5 minus 3 is 2. 7 minus 6 is 1. Be sure you're lining up your 1 and your 5. Now, 12 cannot be divided equally into 63 groups, so you're going to bring down your 6. And I can look in this and go, well, 60 times 2 is 120, and 60 times 3 is 6, so I think this should be a 2, and 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 6 is 12. And we have no remainder. So if we wanted to check by adding, or multiplying, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, we'll have our 0, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 3 is 6, 6, 5, 7, 756. If you can't work as fast as I do, please pause the video when you need to. B is, okay, so if I rounded this to 20 and I rounded this to 4,000, I'll get 20. Or I could round this to 44. Okay, so we're going to be at about 20. If I look at this and I think, well, a 2 times 22, so 4,692 divided by 22, 2 times 22 is 44. Then you're going to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 cannot be shared equally among 22 groups, so we're going to bring down our 9. And I look at this, and 29 divided by 22 is 1. And notice that I put my 1 right over my 9 up top. And 9 minus 2 is 7. I cannot divide 7 equally among 22 groups. So I'm going to bring down my other 2. And how many 22s in 72? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8. So 4 is going to be too big, so let's do 3. And 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 6. And if I subtract, got to do a little regrouping here, 12 minus 6 is 6. So I have 213 remainder 6. If I want to multiply to check, I would take 213 and I would put that on the top and I would multiply by 22. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. My 0, and again, 2 times 2 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. And if I add that, I get 4,686. So I must have done something wrong. Well, I didn't do anything wrong except for in my check I forgot to go add my 6, which makes this 12. Regroup makes that a 9, 6, and a 4. Okay, now move to page 85, and this is number 1 under the share and show. So I'm going to go ahead and write it a little bigger. And if I rounded 28 to 30, then that to 600, I would think, well, I need to take that 2 times. So let's see if that works. 2 times 8 is 16. Regroup a 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 56. So when we subtract, we should get something less than 28. So we get a 6. So when I regroup now, 5 minus 5. Now I can bring down my 0. If I look again, well, I have 60 and 56 is close to 60, so let's try 2 again. And we're going to get 56. And I have remainder 4. If I want to multiply to check that, I can have 28 times 22. And 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And again, I would have a 6 and a 5 because I'm multiplying by 2. And I add a 6, 11, and 6. And then I have to add a 4. So I would get a 10, 2, and 6. So I'm right back to my 620. Go ahead and pause your video and make sure you have all of that done. Okay, so I had to erase that, so I had enough workroom. This is your hot problem number 4. I want you to go ahead, work it, and multiply to check, and then come back to the video. Okay, let's see if you agree with my work. 723 divided by 30. Again, I would think, well, 30 plus 30 is 60. If I do another 30, that's 90. That's going to be too high, so I would try 2. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. Then I would need to subtract, and I go get 10. And 10 cannot be shared evenly among 31 groups. So I'm going to bring down my 3, and I'm going to say, well, 30, 60, 90, 120. So 120 is going to be too big. So 30, 60, 90, that's 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. And so I'm going to have a remainder of 10. Okay? Now we're going to multiply to check 31 times 23. 3 and 9. 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 3. 9 plus 2 is 11. 6 plus 1 is 7. So I have 713. And if I add my remainder, I get 723. Okay? We're going to go over here. This is your hot problem number 6. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and do that one. Okay, I have about 50 seconds, so we're going to run through this one really quickly so you can see it. 72 into 79 goes 1 time. And that leaves me 72 again. And it goes 1 time. And that leaves me nothing. And if I bring down my 5, I have 5. And 5 cannot be shared among 72 groups. So we're going to put a 0 here, and we're going to have a remainder of 5. Then we're going to multiply 110 times 72. Have a 0, a 2, and a 2, a 0. A 0, a 7, and a 7, a 2, a 9, and a 7, and I add a 5, I get 7,920.